Good
Hi
morning.
friends, good evening. And this is your host Ankit Khanilwal joining from Delhi, India, and we have Bill President joining us from Washington DC as our White House correspondent. Good morning, Bill, and welcome to IBM TV. And today we have a great line of shows packing up, starting from White House reports to Travel Tuesdays, and then followed by a special show from Hollywood, and we are Henning and other people are joining us, and then we have a special guest from South Africa. Uh, Nathan Rowe, and he'll be talking about his music albums. And then we have Brandon for a travel show, followed by Chess Without Borders by Jim May, and then we have Vivens China at 2 o'clock, and then followed by we have our fantasy football show with Michael Hofer. So that's the lineup for the day. So let's get started.
That is a really packed lineup, and for a Tuesday, everybody's getting back to work, and it's going to be a short week, which is a good thing. So, sure, let's get started. Let's see the report.
Sure. Okay.
All right.
Right here.
From IBM TV, International Broadcast Media, this is your report from Washington. There are 56 days left until the presidential election. Today marks the beginning of the final phase of the campaign season. The race is heating up. In Pennsylvania, Biden pressed his attack on statements made by Trump as reported in the Atlantic magazine, in which Trump called members of the armed forces, quote, losers and, quote, suckers. Speaking from a union hall, Biden appeared visibly angry and invoked the memory of his late son, Beau Biden, who served in Iraq. Biden, squinting his eyes, in a direct statement to Trump said Beau was no loser, and the men and women who died there were no suckers. In a separate appearance, Biden accused Trump of playing politics with the possibility of a vaccine, saying that Trump has so denigrated confidence in the office of the president that people won't even believe him. Biden added that if there was a vaccine that passed medical muster, he would be the first to take it, even if it cost him the election. Trump will be in Florida and North Carolina today, again promoting law and order. It remains to be seen if he will continue his assertions that a vaccine will be ready in the next 56 days. Trump remains on the defense with American military service members and their families as a result of the Atlantic magazine article, which reported that he called members of the armed forces losers and suckers. Vice President Pence was in La Crosse, Wisconsin, touting the law and order re-election theme of the Trump campaign. Vice President nominee Harris was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, campaigning and notably raising doubts over whether any vaccine that appears prior to the election could even be trusted, saying about Trump, quote, this is the guy that told America to drink bleach, end quote. Vice presidential nominee Harris also placed a call to Jacob Blake and his family. North Carolina began sending out absentee ballots last Friday, and Michigan, Virginia, and Pennsylvania are a few days away from opening the polls for early voting. On the money trail, the Trump campaign is running out of cash. During this election season, the Trump campaign had raised over $1 billion, but as of the end of August, only had $200 million cash on hand. Meanwhile, the Biden campaign raised $365 million in August alone. The Trump campaign has cut its media buys in the states of Michigan and Pennsylvania and has announced a new plan called, quote, surgical advertising. Meanwhile, the Biden campaign is opening its transition headquarters in Washington, D.C. Biden maintains a national lead over Trump by 7.5%, although the point spread is closer in the swing states. In other news, Trump announced that he's refusing to meet with Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi over the COVID-19 relief package. Separately, the House Oversight Committee will be opening an investigation into Louis DeJoy, the Postmaster General, over illegal campaign contributions to the Trump campaign. Across the globe, China and India are trading accusations and bullets over the disputed border region of Ladakh. There were no reported casualties. In the UK, the 8th round of post-Brexit trade negotiations between the UK and the European Union starts today. Prime Minister Boris Johnson will tell EU negotiators that unless a deal is reached by mid-October, the UK will walk away from the table. 8 men were convicted in Saudi Arabia for the murder of Washington Post reporter Mr. Khashoggi. The men received sentences ranging from 7 to 20 years. Finally, the current COVID death toll from Johns Hopkins University is over 189,215 American souls lost and 892,872 global souls lost with no end in sight. That is your report for this day, September 8th, 2020, from IBM TV. IBM TV International Broadcast Media, smart television for a smarter global community. From dictatorships to democracies around the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. I'm Bill Trezevant. Okay.
Detailed report and too many things going around in the world right now. But everyone is
there's a lot happening, and I wanted to ask you just off the bat, what's going on with the border skirmish in India with China over the disputed area?
Stories, but I think that's a very controversial topic to discuss. I have Rakesh ji with us. I think we can discuss all together mutually. So let's invite Rakesh ji. Start from Canada. Good evening.
Yes.
Good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello, Rafa, how are you?
Very good. It's still good morning here in Toronto.
And Rakesh, morning, afternoon, or evening for you?
It's evening. It's around 10 in the evening. And I'm just crossing my fingers about Ladakh. I don't want any fighting.
Yeah, that was a new one, and so maybe I was hoping you could shed some light, or you could anchor it as well, because I saw that, and whenever bullets fly between the world's largest democracy and communist China, I mean, you guys each have 1 billion people. That's quite, So, by all means, anchor it for Rakesh.
My fear is that the potential, if these two nations could cooperate, would be so good for the world, because if so many people involved, and when there is it is, first of all, I would say, both parties did not sort of work out a border, so we have a situation which is really, I'm really hoping for peace. That's all I can say. We have the situation today because we haven't got a fixed border, and that is dynamite when you look at this kind of thing. I just hope this goes away somewhere. The land is so peaceful, the Himalayas. I hope that peace is not shattered.
Thank you. Do you have? Thank you. Can you tell our viewers who are not in India what exactly is going on in this disputed area and why it's disputed?
So area is disputed because the area which we are talking about, that is called LAC, Line of Actual Control, and according to India, it's part of India which has been occupied by China. According to China, it's a disputed land. And what happened is that we are talking about that land which is not a part of China's political map. Okay. So, and China claims that we are heading towards China, but we are not heading towards China. We are talking about the land which is disputed, and according to our map, we are still holding that land in our political map. So that's what it is. And then, when there is no land, there is no people. It's difficult to have boundaries lined up. There is no boundary and all this stuff. So that's the problem. And then when people have, so they have like fingers. They have a lot of positions where they put it up like finger 1, finger 2, finger 7. So they've identified that. So now when they go out and check if other person or other army or other people are not approaching to our land, they just go for a morning walk or maybe an evening walk and just fill out. At that time, they don't realize that either they're on our land or they are their own land, basically. So that's the confusion. And we tried to have a lot of lot of ways to make sure that we have a borderline coming up, but it's not happening because of the area and the demographic and things like that. And according to me, both the nations not looking for fight as of now, but it's more about the power game, because both the countries are powerful and no one wants to back down at this point of time, because if they lose it or if they back down, it seems that they are not powerful. So I think it's more about that ego and power game. And also because of the COVID thing, people are trying to divert mind in different ways. because nationalism is something which is there in India, but in China, I'm not sure. But PLA is like you have to be a part of PLA to do a lot of things. It's a prerequisite for you. But in India, it's a part of your choice. So people join the army with their own weightage, and our news is showcasing something else, and you are getting news from China is something else. So you never know what's happening at the border. But according to me, it's more about the power and ego and all those stuff. And then when two nations are talking, because see, China and India are doing billion-dollar trade as well. So it's not just about the border dispute. We are still talking to them. We have a lot of relations and all those stuff. But I think the situation is not good, and it will cool off soon. I think that's what is happening. But right now, situations are pretty tense at the border, but not at the local level. People-to-people connect is still there.
Okay, because and Sasha, please jump in if you have thoughts. But let me just ask this: I had read a report where your general of defense, or your defense general, met with the Chinese counterpart to try to discuss this issue, and I think that was in China. Are you aware of that? Can you explain some of that for us? Or
I don't know about it.
okay, Ankit.
Can you repeat the question? I missed it.
Okay, my understanding is that there was a meeting between the defense secretary for India and the defense secretary for China, and I believe that was in China when this.
No. So what happened is that we have rounds of meeting at a military level with different commands because see, India and China is not sharing a small border; it's a big border.
Okay.
So we have meetings on different borders at different times since 3 months or so, basically. And that meeting is still going on. But on the other end, we still have a lot of, arguments or problems at the border level, at the ground zero.
Okay.
On the other end, our defense ministers and China's defense minister, we meet at Russia because we had a meeting with Russia regarding something. And then China requested to be a part of a meeting in Russia. So Russia offered us to have a common ground and help us to, sort out some issues which we can sort it out. So that was the meeting happened in Russia.
Wow. So is it that Russia's taking the lead in terms of being a moderator in this dispute? Is that your understanding or no?
No. It's not a moderator, but it's just that they need a common ground, and our defense ministers was already in Russia for some different discussions. So China offered to be there and get it sorted because China doesn't want to come in India, and we don't want to go to China to discuss because that doesn't look good. So we need a third place to sit down and get this sorted.
Oh.
Neutral ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Sasha, what's your take on Russia's role in this dispute?
Well, people in Russia are always curious about why their ministry calls Ministry of Defense instead of Ministry of Attack. Because basically Russia is, as you know, most of the times in history it had to defend against invaders, which it did quite successfully thanks to climate and lack of normal highways and infrastructure, so on. So both Napoleon and Hitler were so suffering because of that they had to live in disgrace and actually lost everything. Now, these days, Russia is very asserted and feels very good about decline of United States, and it's taking every place which is vacated by US, Russia moves immediately in. So if there is a need to, for example, for diplomacy between China and India, US cannot fill that role because US cannot be even considered to be by China to do any negotiations. So Russia fills the void right automatically. And so there are many places in Asia, in Africa, and even in Europe, and actually almost everywhere, Latin America, Central America, where Russia can play a dominant political role thanks to US vacating that. So whatever the US was striving in Second World War to be a dominant world power, and not just because of its military might, but because of its development in anywhere in technology, in
Yeah.
entertainment, everywhere. So
Yeah.
all that is now being depleted.
Uh-huh. You know, you raised an interesting point, and I guess Rakesh and Sasha and Ankit. It
Yeah.
seems, from an outsider's point of view, it's well defined that Russia is in expansion in their expansionary mode. And Sasha, you're right when you say it should be, the minister of attack. However, we have seen with the New Silk Road initiative that China has been more expansionary by at least on both fronts, either with India, but also in the South China Sea, building islands and airports. Now, Rakesh, you're in Hong Kong. How is it playing there? I mean, how are you viewing what China's actions are? Because clearly Russia is asserting itself and China is asserting itself. How are you viewing it there from Hong Kong?
To be honest, off late, my mind is sort of busy with my movement to New Zealand. So,
Yes.
excuse
Okay.
me a moment. I have a call, but I will.
Okay.
That is why I haven't been paying much attention to this sort of thing, unfortunately.
So,
Just
yeah,
take this call. So sorry for that. It's my sister calling. So
no,
That's fine. That's fine.
yeah, we here at IBM always believe in family first. So,
Yep.
Okay, Ankit, how are you viewing the expansionary force, at least policies of both China and Russia?
See, according to me, according to the Indian perspective, what happened is that China is in an expansion mode. And if you check China's history from past 50 to 100 years, they have a border dispute with 18 countries.
Mm-hmm.
Not just one India.
Right.
But the problem is that China was very friendly with business, so no one talks about that, and it's more about business first, and then rest everything will follow. Because if I talk about small countries, if they are getting money, so they think that okay, our economy is going good, our people are getting all those, requirements and stuff, and all this money, and all those industries, and all those jobs, and all this stuff. So let's talk about business, and then don't talk about the border dispute and the land and all this stuff. But over a period of time, that happens quite well. But during the Corona era, things have been changed because we realized that we are so dependent on China that we don't have a backup. It's not about India; it's about the world. And there we start realizing that what's happening because and over a period of time before Corona, South China Sea was a big topic because everyone knows what happened in South China Sea, and so multiple topics joined up, and it's like the China. They're looking to be a superpower, and on the back end, Russia also wants to be one of the superpowers. But if you talk about economy and if you talk about the GDP, a lot of other countries are coming forward and doing their best to do it. But some countries are peace-loving countries. Some countries wanted expansion in different ways. Russia is having some other strategies. But China is also what they are doing is they are focusing on small countries and having Chinese colonies there. So if you talk about India subcontinent, a lot of countries which are neighbors to India, they have Chinese colonies now. And maybe in next 50 years, they will be a part of China in some way or the other because they have ports, they have a lot of investment and stuff like that. And they have those countries are in debt as of now. At most of the time. In fact, I'll tell you one of the important stories which I think world media didn't cover, and that is about Thailand Canal. What happened is that China already have like 3 to 4 ports around India, which includes Sri Lanka, which includes Bangladesh, and which includes I think Myanmar or I think it's not Vietnam, but I think Myanmar or something. So China, with their OBOR project, they wanted to have a sea and a road built up so that they can supply to the world at a single way. So for that, they need more space and all the stuff. And then because India is owning a big portion of Indian Ocean, and that is one of the biggest, or maybe one of the heaviest traffic on the sea right now because it supplies from south to the other parts of the world. So China wants the control on that. So China is having some control in Sri Lanka with that, but they need one more help. So they offered Thailand to be a part of it, and Thailand had a government change in a couple of I think 3 to 4 years back, and they were trying to lobbying and all this stuff. And then Thailand agreed that okay, we'll give you the canal. He will build it up, and this is the money impact and all those stuff basically. While doing it, Thailand also did a research that if they do it, what is the economic consideration and what is the citizen or maybe people's consideration? Because what people thinking about it? Because everyone knows that whenever China is there, they try to hold that country. If you heard about Mongolia and a lot of countries, Tibet and all those stuff, they don't have any roots now because it's controlled by China. So after the survey comes up, the survey clearly said that it's not in favor of Thailand people and the government because China will control, and then you will be on debt, and the money they're investing, that is their money, and they will try to involve your government, and they'll try to influence the government as well at some point of time. So they rejected the offer. With that case, what happened is that China doesn't want to listen. No, they always want to listen yes because they will give you more money, but they just want to listen yes. With that line, China is not able to cross that Indian Ocean to the other part because there is no segment. And whatever segment they have from Sri Lanka is the 800-kilometer mark, where big ships can't suffer because both of sides we have Indian Army or Indian Navy, and they wanted to take permission, and they don't want to take a permission from anyone else. So there are a lot of strategical and I think strategy-based things going around in regards to what they're planning. But on the other hand, I'm not sure, it's not in the news, but I know that we are revising our Silk Route, which was there in the past, basically with the help of Australia, Japan, and America, and I think in UK as well. So we are working on that route as well, and I think that would also conflict with the OBOR. So it's more about the larger picture is more about who will control the business in next 5 to 10 or maybe 50 years. That's that is the objective of all this discussion going around, because our generation, the next generation people, they decide what's happening, and that's what the control is. But these details are not on the mainstream media, so no one knows about it. They just know that there's an argument going on, there's something happened and this happened, but there's a lot of strategical things also going on. So that's the case with China.
Right. Well, that's why we're here talking about it. And I guess at least from what I've read, and obviously what we're hearing, and Sasha, I'd like to go to you in a moment, because as I understand it, to put it in context, China is not only trying to expand its physical border, but economically it is extending its reach by investing in countries in Africa to build ports and things of that nature, and essentially buying whole ports in other countries, like you mentioned, Thailand, and then the attempt to get an agreement with India. Now, that's really forming a new economic base in the Asian portion of this world. Now, Sasha, how do you see these developments as you look at economic investing? I mean, what companies, because obviously if there's an increase in trade, there's going to be a focus on China. How do you see that impacting? And of course, this is all with the caveat that currently we have a vacuum of leadership from the United States, which is going to, depend on what happens in 56 days, I should say. Sasha, how are you looking at it, and how are your colleagues looking at this?
Well, there are several assumptions that I have to make before I'll give you my view. Assumption number one: in investment, money flows in the direction of at least resistance. So let's see if a certain commodity, for example, gold, let's say gold would stay the same price, move lower or move higher. And it tries to figure gold doesn't want to do anything. It doesn't have any mind of its own. So it's basically doing what traders put their orders to buy or sell, and then it moves in a direction of at least resistance. Nowadays, probably the least resistance is for gold to go higher, because people are concerned about the developments, economic developments, U.S. leadership or absence of U.S. leadership in the world, and many other things. So there are more reasons for gold, for example, to go higher than lower. Okay. Now, number one assumption which people are missing, and probably Mr. Trump just as well, you have to welcome China to the status of a superpower, which it held together with India all the way until 1500. 1500 of this of our era. China and India produced 90% of the gross world product. Europe produced remaining 10%. That's where was China. That was where the India was. In 250 years, situation drastically changed. Europe became a superpower, and China and India were reduced to sleepy states. Now, India was invaded by English later on, although there are some positive moments, of course, because English brought technology and built essentially all the railway network and so on. But there were drawbacks, as we know, as well. Now, China was involved in opium wars and reduced to really to nothing, really, by the end of the 19th century. So today, obviously, China is not only rising power; it's probably already a superpower that nobody can neglect for different reasons. U.S. cannot neglect it for economic reasons.
That's right.
It tries to do so foolishly, and one of the reasons the market is down today. One of the reasons, not so, but one of the reasons is that Donald Trump now wants to completely decouple U.S. and Chinese economy. This is a suicidal mission for U.S. And I always hope that he had some advisors who would tell him never, ever even to dream about that. However, that's happening. Now, Russia cannot, it has a huge ambitions, more than China and US together. However, Russia has one problem. Russian economy is way too weak.
Right.
Now, there is another problem, strategic problem, is it's been contemplated that in order to economy to be sustainable and grow at healthy rate, you need population of at least 350 million people, which obviously China and India have in abundance. US has, European Union has, Russia doesn't have even half of that.
Right.
Number two, because of the climate, anything that you want to produce in Russia and the distances, it's a huge country, geographically speaking, anything, whatever you produce in Russia will be in many times more expensive than in China or elsewhere.
Right.
So you cannot produce anything in Russia. So what you can produce in Russia in abundance, it's arms and more arms. The natural resources, if the prices are good, if not so good, then it's nothing. So from investment point of view, to make it short, I thought that U.S. stocks will go down right after election, regardless who wins.
Okay.
Looks like it's happening way before that day. No, but I have a question to you now.
Okay.
I've heard in the last couple of days an opinion that there are so many problems in U.S., contradictions of all kinds, racial and economic, and poor against rich, and blacks against white, and Democrats against Republicans. There are so many. I just touched three obvious ones, but there are many more. So what people are afraid of, that nobody can handle that. No Biden, no Trump. But at least Trump is already there, and all these contradictions is really he's making for most part. So let him fix it.
Right.
Biden will come.
Well, the American people are gonna decide that. Let me just take a moment, because we have a new guest, and I want to bring him on board. And let me just say hello, Len. How are you?
Good morning, Bill. How are you, Rakesh, Sasha?
Excellent.
Good morning.
Yeah.
No, we were just kind of going around the horn. I wanted to ask Rakesh and Lynn. I'd like you to jump in at any point in time.
Thank you.
Right now, we've been talking about China and Russia's expansionary policies to extend its influence, as well as China trying to expand their influence and such. What I'm curious about, though, Rakesh, because you're in Hong Kong now, right?
Yeah.
And I guess, there's a lot going on in Hong Kong with the crackdown and China's asserting its authority with the law and the arrests and things of that nature. Is that one of the reasons why you're leaving Hong Kong for New Zealand?
No. It's I had already planned this. I had a tenant in New Zealand who, unfortunately, because of COVID, stopped paying her rent. And then I thought that anyway, I was planning to incorporate my companies that I have in Hong Kong, parallel companies running in New Zealand. Now, one part of New Zealand corporate law says that at least one director has to be in the country. So I said I might as well. It's a message from the fates or whatever that it's time for me to go back to New Zealand.
Right.
So,
then let me ask you. It's kind of vague and foggy here in the United States because it's really hard to understand that there were pro Hong Kong democracy demonstrations, and we've heard from time to time that China has threatened to crack down on various things. What is actually going on in Hong Kong?
To be honest, I don't know too much in terms of the politics of it. I have sort of kept out of it because I always knew that after a certain period of time I'm going back to New Zealand. So I kept out of the politics.
Just tuned right out. You just said,
I just tuned out of it because I don't want to get involved. I sort of honed that art in Africa because when I lived in Rwanda and those sort of places, I did the same thing. I just tuned out of the local politics. I just focused on business, and that's it. Okay. So it is probably a survival tactic. So I just tuned out of local politics. I just do my business.
I totally understand, and I think Lynn, you might be sharing those same thoughts with your approach to the American election. Is that right, or do I have that wrong?
No, I think you have that right. Quite frankly, I'm not a lover of politics. In fact, actually, that's probably the most positive statement I can make about politics. Quite honestly, I just don't think. I think I better not say it.
No. Actually, I just wanted to make a point for our observers. Our viewers around the globe, and that is that one of the common themes that across all borders and nations are exactly your views, Rakesh and Lynn, that politics is so complicated, so nasty, and so divisive that at some point in time it becomes overwhelming, it's confusing, and people just tune out. And, you really don't expect anything. And that's, yes, Lynn. And that's just unfortunate. But Lynn?
But I don't think politics is very, very complicated at all. Oh. I think politics is very simple. Okay. I think the politicians are basically there for one reason, themselves. They don't care about the rest of us. I think that's true in Russia with Putin. I think that's true in China with the people at the top of the Chinese government. Mm-hmm. I think quite interestingly, in New Zealand has a wonderful prime minister, and I think she actually cares about the people. So maybe 1 out of 200 and some odd governments isn't bad. It's maybe a small percentage, but the fact is that I think politics is really very simple. I think there's no difference between Biden and Trump in that respect. Wow. They're in it for themselves. I mean, they have different approaches to being in it for themselves. Mm-hmm. and I've said this before on the show. Everybody keeps preaching that they want to see Trump's tax return. I would preach, I want to see the tax returns of every one of the 500 and how many is it?
535 total.
535 people in Congress. I want to see those tax returns because, quite honestly, the majority of them entered politics. They were very poor, and during their term in office, they become very rich. They have the laws for politicians are made for politicians. They're different than our laws. I mean, I've said this before. That Martha Stewart, whom actually my wife spent a whole day with, and thought is actually a very intelligent and wonderful woman, got thrown into jail for insider trading, something that every member of Congress could have done at that time with impunity. So, Bill, I And unfortunately, we can't change it because even though the Constitution says if it's for the people, and if the people don't like the government, people can change it. Well, you try and change the government today, and you'll be thrown in jail.
Wow, we have some lively views out there. I understand, Lynn, and obviously this is I think you reflect a great number of voices out there. Let me ask you this, at least for the panel. Trump has said that he expects to have a vaccine for COVID-19 prior to the election on November 3rd. That's 56 days. Now, there's some controversy about that, but how would you evaluate that? Now, Rakesh, I guess there is at least a question of whether or not that's even possible. Is it even possible based on what you know?
In my opinion, I was just talking to somebody in Australia, a friend of mine in Australia. I think we will see, because I don't know too much about the actual conditions in which the American labs are. The Russian vaccine, I've heard some positive noises. I don't know too much about it, and most of the vaccines are going to be manufactured in India anyway, because the largest manufacturer is out there. Okay. So it'd be quite. What impressed me so far is the Oxford vaccine, which has a strategy to it, which I think is a workable strategy. And I do not know who was it. You who was asking about CRISPR? Early in this show, when this show started, I asked the same question, and nobody seemed to know. So even the medical doctors, there was one extremely brilliant doctor. I forget his name. The one who's from Harvard as well as Oxford, with the Eastern European kind of name, and he. He talked about quercetin and dexamethasone, and which ultimately turned out to be right. So I think we're going to see number of fatalities falling. We're going to see some degree that is for countries that can afford it. Countries like India who are who've not really invested in their health system. You're seeing the reflection of that in the numbers that happen these days. And the good thing would probably, for India's point of view, would be the vaccine would be manufactured most likely in India, because one of the largest manufacturers is there. That's what I can see. Realistically, I think there would be a vaccine by June next year.
Okay.
And probably effective vaccine by end 2022, and probably stamping out or largely mitigating COVID-19 by 2024.
Okay. Now
these are my predictions.
No, absolutely, and we appreciate it. Now, Lynn, what I'm curious about is how then, understanding what Rakesh has just shared with all of us, how then do you evaluate Trump's claim that he might be able to have, or that the United States will have a vaccine in 56 days? Understanding now what Rakesh has shared with us, how do you evaluate Trump's statements?
Well, I don't follow enough about the vaccines themselves.
Right, I understand.
And so I think his announcement's quite self-serving, because obviously everybody hopes that a vaccine will be developed. And if he can say, we developed one and we're doing it and it's going to be out by November 1st, and it coincides with when the election is,
Right.
I think clearly it's self-serving. Will it be correct? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, one of the issues, of course, is different strains. So as Rakesh says, 2024 probably is when, because
Right.
I intend to be around in 2024. Not
And
with
we want you around, Lynn.
what?
Well, we want you around. I mean,
Yeah.
what would I do?
Well, I'll be 80 in 2024, and that's when. And I hope to be here to not only celebrate 80 but 90 and 100. But the problem is somebody my age, okay, with and I don't, knock on wood, don't have any major illnesses other than what my grandkids say, which is my mental illness. But beyond that, I think that the problem is that for me, a vaccine is going to react differently than it will for Rakesh, and for Rakesh is going to act differently than Sasha, and Sasha is going to be different than you are. So we're going to have multiple vaccines. Maybe there will be one by November 1st, November 2nd, November 3rd.
All right.
Okay, which might actually only be able to deal with a small number of people.
Mm-hmm.
But if it works, it works.
Right.
Frankly, I'm not sure that I, being my age, would take the risk of getting. I don't even get the flu vaccine. I've never had one because I had a former partner who got Guillain-Barré and back in the 70s, Guillain-Barré was very prevalent with flu vaccines. So I don't think they've solved that problem.
Wow.
And frankly, I'm not sure that I want to be a test case.
Right.
For I'd rather. Well, if Sasha wants to do it, I'll applaud him. No, I'm kidding.
Well, actually, that's very interesting because Sasha, the reports are that Sputnik 2, it's Sputnik 2, correct? That Sputnik 2 is now they're doing their third stage where they are actually trying it out. I believe it's on about 10,000 Russians right now, the vaccine that they have. What can you tell us about that going on in Russia?
First of all, the proposed name for this vaccine was Novichok 2, but then they changed it. They changed it to Sputnik. But then they came up with Sputnik 2. Sputnik 2 will cure you from Sputnik. So you will have Sputnik and you will feel really bad. Then you will go into Sputnik 2. And Sputnik 2 will not help you. Then you're just not very lucky, I guess. So basically, Russian vaccine is more of a continuation of Russian roulette. Some people will survive and will be alive. Some people won't, but they will die sooner or later anyway. So you cannot say that they die because of the vaccine. They died of natural causes, probably.
Well, Sasha, that is a very clear observation for our viewers. Roulette, and some are just going to die.
Some people will die. Yeah.
Well, that's why we here at IBM strive to bring the news that other shows won't. So, Lynn, any good news coming out of Pennsylvania?
Well, actually, there's a lot of good news. The dollar store is
Mhm.
our dollar store, which is an online dollar store, is still here. The bad news at the moment, I guess, is we're not in India yet. We could ship to Canada, but as Sasha knows, that just doesn't happen because of Border Patrol. What I should have done, my grandson went and got through Border Patrol. He's in Toronto. I should have had him smuggle stuff up to Sasha, which
Yep.
we
Yep.
could have gotten him stuff. And he's, by the way, a chess player, Sasha. So yeah.
Very nice.
Not a particularly good one because he beat Carlson when Carlson was 5 years old. But then when Carlson turned 5.5, my grandson lost to him. So but anyway, it is what it is.
Well, yes, no. So tell us about the dollar. By the way, it's interesting, and this is something I'd like you to, at least mention. We are here in the United States facing a number of different, disasters. You got California, you got Colorado, you have the remnants of the derecho in Iowa, you've got Hurricane Laura, and all those places are going to need relief. So, with that having been said, how can the Family Dollar Store help?
Well, our store, you can find an organization that is providing help to the people who are in need. People in California for the fires, people in Louisiana, in Lake Charles area, who got severely hit by Hurricane Laura. Find an organization, buy on the online dollar store, and then have it shipped to that organization. Or find an organization that can help the disaster in Congress in Washington and ship to them as well, because they probably need something. I'm sorry, Bill, I had to say that.
Oh.
But anyway, so no, serious, all kidding aside, we have a lot of people who are suffering. The sad news in California, have you seen how quickly all of a sudden it's expanding again? There was a week, almost 2 weeks, where we didn't hear about the fires,
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's expanding. But the real problem is that the Santa Ana winds are starting today,
Right.
and when they hit, the fires are going to really spread. So given that, we can ship to the organizations, but we need to find organizations that are not going to have to move themselves because of the fires.
Okay. And so just to and that is fantastic. And what I hear you saying is that customers can go to the family.dollar store,
correct,
and then buy products and ship them to a relief agency,
correct,
already in the area. Now, can you tell us the kind of products that your family.dollar store has?
Well, we have lots of different products. They are many of them, I won't say all, but many of them, most of them are name brand products. So they're quality products, but we sell them for a lot less than it's going to cost people, just simply, if they can, if they're not in a disaster area, if they can go into an over-the-counter store and buy them. So we have quality products at a lot lower cost, and they can be shipped anywhere. So, for instance, Rakesh is in Hong Kong. We can't ship to Hong Kong, and we can't ship to New Zealand, where he's going to return. But he can become a customer, and when he signs up to become a customer, he can do an order. He can place an order and have stuff shipped to the organizations that are providing relief to the people in the areas in California and in Louisiana. And Sasha could do the same thing from Toronto. So people from all over the world can become customers. And of course, there's a benefit to becoming a customer, because when you become a customer, you get $5 worth of gift tokens. For every customer gets immediately $5 worth of gift tokens, which are just like gift cards that you can get from to shop at places like Macy's or CVS or Target. Okay. And you can use them on the dollar store, but they're transferable. So the good news, additional good news is we ship for free for orders of over $25. Okay, but you can apply the gift tokens. So if you place an order for $25, it's really only going to cost you $20 because you get the $5 worth of gift tokens you can use in your order. But through the end of September, we're going to give an additional $5 to anybody who signs up to become a customer on the dollar store. And through the end of September, we're giving 100% of our profit to Money Masters PBS because we love the mission of Money Masters PBS.
Yes, and here at IBM TV, International Broadcast Media, our mission is to educate, to spread financial awareness and make the connection between for those to help save. So in that regard, can you tell us your 5?
Well, absolutely. Besides the 5 and the 5 with the gift token. Okay. All right. Well, so let's start by saying that people don't know Money Masters PBS owns IBM TV.
That's right.
And that's an important aspect for people to understand. The mission of Money Masters PBS is to reduce the gap, as you said, between poverty and financial sustainability by providing financial education, and which creates financial fitness. And when you have financial fitness, you have 5 aspects of financial fitness, which are very important. The first is you learn to save. And you know, it's interesting, Nick said, when you read about all the millionaires, a lot of them are they clip coupons because they've learned how to save. And then they get a chance to invest the money, which is number 2. And that gives them growth so that they can pay for their needs, all of their what they do on their weekly or monthly basis, pay for what they need to live, but also to pay for their taxes and to pay forward by contributing to the charity of their choice. Now, here's the interesting thing. By shopping at our online dollar store, and you can do that, by the way, by going to IBM TV, clicking on the big green button, okay, and it takes you right to the store. So I don't even have to tell you what the name of the link is. Just go to IBM TV website and click on the big green button. But here's the thing. If you shop at the store, you're going to be saving.
Right.
You're also going to be supporting Money Masters PBS, which is item number 5. But if you give to some of the relief agencies, you're also going to be paying forward by shipping to the relief agencies to help people who are in need. So what could be better than that?
That's fantastic. I guess just as an aside, 2 questions. Rakesh, did you need help with moving?
I mean, I've got it pretty much under control. I've moved from India to Africa, back to India, then to New Zealand, now then to Hong Kong, and now going back to New Zealand. I'm pretty much an expert.
Okay, all right. Because I didn't know. I mean, I know we don't deliver to either Hong Kong or New Zealand yet, but I just thought maybe there was something. Now, I know, Lynn, you don't have Snickers yet, but at some point, a Snickers would be helpful. And I hear you, Lynn. But a Snickers kind of gets the day going.
Well, it's got to be more than just Snickers, because you know that Kimberly loves the dark chocolate Snickers. That's what we have to have. But remember, if we're thinking about Kimberly, we have Minion napkins.
That's right.
And they're her favorites. So it's the Minion Club. And of course, for $25, you can get all the masks that you want. Okay?
That's right.
And you can get 50 masks. I mean, they're going to last you a really long time.
Right. You're absolutely right. It's really important with everything going on. There's still the pandemic. And people have to be aware. So,
Yeah, you're good at this, Bill, because you ask the right questions. You're a very good interviewer.
No, actually, Lynn, it's just because there's not a whole lot that I know. So I appreciate when I have smarter people around me, which is why I'm always asking questions in the hopes that one day I might be, qualified to be in this august body of intelligent people. But I know, Rakesh, you're tired. Listen, you were a real trooper. You know why? Yeah. All the stuff that's going on in Hong Kong, moving your entire family, changing, setting up a new company, okay? And then still being here on IBM TV at 10, 11 o'clock at night. If I could give you an IBM TV Soldiers Award, I would, because unlike Trump, I don't think you're a loser or a sucker. I think you're a champion.
It's been an interesting experience because I've been in traditional industry before about 30 odd years as a senior manager, but this business is online business, and the rules of the game are quite different.
Right.
And I've just about sort of learned them and working through monetizing now both the companies. And now I'm moving back to New Zealand, and it's going to be quite interesting because the focus is not one market. The focus is the whole world.
Right.
So I've started off with certain markets to begin with, and then I'll expand, in terms of currency, setting up bank accounts so that people can transfer small amounts of money to the company accounts in different places and things like that. It's an interesting exercise, actually.
Right. So it's just a lot. I'd give you an award if I had the authority. Lynn, I'd give you an award too. And so you are like the rock in the foundation, covering both Canada and Russia, and for that I am so appreciative. So I'd give you
my pleasure.
I'd give you an award too. And it's interesting. I mean, politics aside, I think that here at IBM TV, when we get all people, everybody together, one, we represent viewpoints from around the world, and yet at the same time, we often find common ground because we're all in this together. And I don't know why the rest of the world can't do something as simple as this. We've got Sasha and his show on investments. We have Rakesh coming in like a soldier late at night and still burning the candle. And that is just amazing. I've been there. I know a number of our viewers have been there. And we've got Lynn, who is providing a link that people can both save on their own, invest in the future, pay it forward, and find and do good at the same time. So I'm always amazed at our guests. So Sasha, I want to thank you. Rakesh,
You're very welcome.
Lynn, I want to thank you. And for our audience, we are coming up on the top of the hour. And what we have coming up in a few moments is Travel Tuesdays with Brandon. And so he's got some great insights on the industry, and we certainly ask everyone to stay tuned here to IBM TV. But what I would like to do, because today is the day after Labor Day, I'm simply going to ask each of you, did you get any rest or did you work? Sasha?
Rest with family, with my daughter and her husband and grandchildren. Fantastic day at the cottage.
Okay.
And just had a good time there.
Okay. And Rakesh, work.
It's a lighter day, but there was work. Class with a bright young person in New Zealand, and it being a science class, not a language class, I have to prepare. It's quite because a question can come out of anywhere, so I need to be ready to handle it.
Absolutely.
One class is not too bad.
I must add something that yes, it was fantastic rest, but there is a peculiar situation that all sports which were absent in our life for the last several months, all of them came together at the same time. NHL finals, the basketball NBA finals, and US Open tennis tournament. And it goes on several channels all at the same time. And I'm I never got so tired from sport like I did. I think I even lost. I think I lost some weight. I have to check. I think I lost some weight.
Okay. And finally, Lynn, work or rest?
Well, it depends upon what you consider work. We were outside working in the garden and to me that's cathartic. So I like that. But we didn't overdo ourselves, which I think was nice. So,
okay. Because as they always say, that if you're doing what you love, it's really not work. It's
not.
Right. Well, excellent. Let me take this moment and introduce Brandon. Brandon, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh,
I'm
we
well,
can't hear
I'm
you.
well. Oh,
Right.
can you not hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh no, now we can. Now we can. I guess you get the first question, and then we will go into your show. Labor Day. Did you work or did you rest?
I worked. I feel like I'm always working. It's a big day for travel and hospitality, so busy day for me.
Okay. Well, I guess with that, let us introduce your show. He is, to our viewers, a stalwart and an expert or subject matter expert in the world of travel, finding the nuggets and helping you navigate those areas that would be confusing or are hidden that allow you to save money and live like a rock star or just a star. So, Brandon, please take it away.
Well, sounds good. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I guess we're off. Welcome to the Best of Travel. We're talking all about travel today, and I'm excited to be here live on IBM TV for a new episode this week. My name's Brandon. I'm a world traveler, foodie, and YouTuber. Together, you and I will find the best travel hacks, tips, and best places to explore. Join me as we find new adventures together, live only on IBM.TV. Welcome. Hi, everyone. My name's Brandon, and welcome to today's show. I'm so excited to kind of jump into this live stream here on IBM TV. Of course, it is a live stream, so if you head on over to the IBM TV Facebook page, you can leave a comment there, and it'll pop up here, and we can answer your questions live on the air. Hope you plan the best trip every time. This week on Best of Travel, we're talking all about money. Money is a hot topic here on IBM TV, so I thought I would dedicate a whole episode, a whole hour, to money management when it comes to travel. Of course, later this season here, I'll be doing a full live stream on how to actually save up for travel and how to afford travel. I've done a couple episodes so far on how to find some great travel hacks, some awesome travel tips, some other kind of ways to save a little bit of money when you're planning your travel. This week, we're talking about how to manage it while you're actually traveling. Which is a lot to do. If you don't know a lot about me, I spent about 4 years traveling full time before the pandemic. And when you're traveling full time, you might be out of the USA for a while. In my case, I would oftentimes be out of the States for, a week, more, a month, sometimes 2 or 3 months. I've been out of the States for 7 or 8 months before, so in a row. So it can be a lot. It can be busy, and it can make it really hard to manage your money, and it can make it really hard to manage your travel. When you're overseas, of course, you have limited access sometimes to your United States bank account, and that can make it pretty tough. It can make it tough to manage. It can make it tough to, keep track of what's going on. So I thought I'd give you a couple of tips on how to kind of supervise your finances while you're traveling, and step through a few tips today. So first, we're going to talk, kind of break this down into a couple of key areas. We're going to talk a little bit about credit cards, and a little bit about debit cards, and a little bit about cash. I will tell you in order. My favorites are credit cards, then debit cards, and then cash. I hate cash, but it's a necessity of travel. It's a evil need. You must use cash while you travel a lot of times. So first, let's take some time and talk a little bit about credit cards. So credit cards are they're great. There are lots of episodes here on IBM TV where they can talk to you about how to manage credit cards and how to manage them effectively and how to get credit cards that work for you. They're really great talking about money management here on the show on this platform. So you can kind of look into some of those episodes if you're curious. But let's kind of break it down. But the big difference when it comes to travel between credit cards and debit cards is that a debit card is linked to your physical bank account, right? So, you have a risk if it gets stolen or hacked that someone can get into your entire checking account. Credit cards are fluid money. They're money that doesn't really exist that you have to pay back. So there can be a little bit more security there. But the big thing for me is international transaction fees. Most debit cards, your banks, they don't like you using your card at ATMs abroad or at vendors abroad to pay for your hotel, anything like that. They don't want you to do it. It costs them to exchange currency back and forth. So they'll charge you an international transaction fee. Most credit cards don't. So look at your credit card provider if you have a credit card. If you don't, I'll tell you what, the best investment if you're young. When I was first starting out in the travel world, I didn't really have a credit score. I didn't really have a way to get a good credit card. So I thought, well, I'll just get a secured credit card. And that was a great choice for me. It was awesome for me because I was able to get a secured credit card that didn't have any international transaction fees. I put a deposit down and that was my credit limit. And I could pay it from my bank for free to be able to kind of manage the balance, make sure I wasn't carrying anything that I didn't need to or didn't want to. And that was super helpful. That was a really kind of great start. But as you get a little older, you start to get a little bit more experienced in the world of credit cards. And you start to get a little bit more familiar with the kind of financial spectrum. So when you get a little older, as you're looking for credit cards, there are hundreds of videos on YouTube, on other platforms that will tell you how to, what kind of card has the best perks and what travel card has the best perks and what card gets you the most points. And there are whole channels on YouTube dedicated to hacking point systems. That's not what we're doing today. Here on the stream on IBM TV, we're talking a little bit more basic about how to actually use money while you're traveling. You want to avoid those international transaction fees. You want to be able to use money easily while you're abroad, and also be at low risk for fraud, for theft, for security. If you're just joining the stream, my name is Brandon, and I go live every Tuesday here at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on IBM TV, and I'm happy to answer your travel questions. If you have any travel questions, feel free to tweet them at me. You can reach me at @TheBrandonScott on Twitter. You can also go to the IBM TV Facebook page and leave a comment on the stream. It'll pop up live here on the chat, and we can have a nice little discussion about what it means to travel and how to manage your money while you're traveling, because that's always a tough area. So when I travel, when I'm out on the road, when I'm, maybe I'm in Europe for 7 months at a time, I need to have access to my money. I need to be able to pay for things, and I need to be able to do it without costing me more to have access to my money. You go to an ATM, you're going to have an ATM fee. And if you're international, you're going to have an ATM fee and an international transaction fee. So you got to be really careful about how you kind of manage all of this. So first, I would say if you're preparing for a trip, if you're getting ready to go abroad, check in with your bank's policies. You can find most of the stuff on their website. It's super easy to find. If you can't find that on their website, you can always call. You can go 1990s or early 2000s and pick up the phone. But check. Do they have international transaction fees? If they do, Xnay the debit card from the bank. Not going to be great for you while you're traveling. For me, I'm a big fan of Capital One cards. Not a sponsored video at all, but that's what I use. It's easy to freeze a card if you misplace it. You can do lots of things with their accounts, and lots of credit card providers have these, right? So when you're traveling, when you're abroad, when you're going out on your big trip, you're excited. You want to be able to not have to worry too much about money. So plan a little bit ahead of time, and you can save yourself a lot of stress. And this is a stressful time. Look, listen, I'll be honest. This is a live stream. I know how you're feeling. You're thinking, who is this guy talking about travel? We can't travel right now. You're right. And it is a terrible time. It is hard. There are coronavirus cases on the rise around the world. The pandemic is far from over. But I want to give you a little respite, a little bit of a seclusion, a little window into optimism to help you plan for the day you'll be traveling. That's kind of what we're talking about here on Best of Travel on IBM TV. We're talking about planning that trip and getting ready for that trip, picking your destination, finding good deals. So, yes, we're in a really strange time right now. It's a really awful time for humanity, I think, but we can hunker down in our houses, away from people, socially distant, mask on, and plan our travel and make sure that when we do take that trip in the next few years, we're going to take a trip that's going to be successful, it's going to be affordable, and we're going to manage our money while we're on that trip in a great way. I feel like that's Karl Marx, manage your money. It feels very, very tongue twistery. But anyway, when you're looking at your credit card provider, if you don't have one or if you're just getting a credit card provider, for a trip, I would say most credit providers are going to provide a lot of these things, but it's worth checking. First thing you want to know is, can you freeze your card as opposed to just cancel it? This is something that started to roll out in the last few years, where instead of having to call and cancel a card, you can just log onto the app and pause it, freeze it, meaning no transactions can be made until you find it. It's great to have that secure peace of mind when you're overseas, because if you misplace your card or your bag doesn't show up or a million other things go wrong, which can definitely go wrong, you can check out my YouTube channel for a whole long list of things that can go wrong while you're traveling. I've been through it all. I've lost my passport. I've come very close to being deported. I had to talk to an immigration official and sweet talk him into not deporting me. So a lot of things can go wrong. So having the ability to just kind of pause or freeze your credit card is great. The second thing you want to know is, what is the alert system like? Do they text you? Can you get push notifications? What can you get in the app to alert you when your card's being used? A great way to kind of step around and prevent fraud. And you also want to know, do they have any international transaction fees? If you use your card abroad, are you going to get dinged? Most of them won't, but it's worth checking. You also want to check and know from your credit card provider what their policy is on cash advances, because you might want to use it at an ATM. You want to know, basically, you want your card to just tell you when something's wrong, right? So when it comes to which card is right for you, well, that depends. It depends on your credit score. It depends on the way your finances are set up, what works best for you. For people who aren't like me, who aren't crazy, who won't be traveling for 10 to 11 months out of the year, maybe not so important to have a card specifically for travel. But you want to be aware of what your card can do, right? What your perks are. And like I said, there's tons of videos, there's whole YouTube channels and live streams and content dedicated to which perks are best. And we can get into that a little bit in future episodes. But you want to know that card is going to alert you when it's used. You're able to freeze it. You don't have to worry about any international transaction fees. If you can do cash advances with your card, that's great. And perks are great too. To have some perks, to get points, to get percentage cash back, whatever, great thing too, to have while you're abroad. So that's going to be your primary method of payment when you're abroad, especially if you're going to a place like Europe, where I spent the last 7 or so months before the pandemic hit. Your credit card's going to be great because everywhere will take credit cards for the most part, but they also will take debit cards and cash, but everywhere will generally take credit cards, and it's going to be great because you can track things, you can alert things, you can freeze it, you can be really aware of it. So that's going to be kind of your primary form of spending while you're abroad. And of course, on the back end, the other folks here at IBM TV would tell you want to maintain that credit card balance while you're looking at it. Make sure you're paying it off regularly. Make sure you're putting payments on it regularly. You can set up automatic payments if you want, but having that credit card is going to be super important. A card that you can use that won't ding you for an international transaction fee. Super, super, super helpful to have that. The next thing here is cash. Here we go. I hate cash. I hate it. I hate it. I love to hate it. I hate cash. And listen, I'll tell you why. But I'll tell you why. Next time, if you're in the US watching this show, or whatever country you're in, look at a coin. Look at a coin. Any coin. Pick up a coin and look at it. And I'll tell you what. I'll tell you the most annoying secret that nobody knows. Where does it say on a quarter that it's worth 25 cents? Where does it say? It's in like tiny microscopic print. You can hardly tell. You can hardly read it. So when you're international, when you're using other countries' currency, it's the same way. It's like, how do you know what this value? And you're looking at the coin. It's awful. You get stuck at a supermarket checkout. You got a bunch of cash. You're trying to figure out, is that 20 cents? Is that 50? It's hard to do, surprisingly. But cash is still important. You want to still have some cash while you're traveling. The amount of cash you have depends on where you're traveling and what the value of the currency is in that country. When I was in Colombia, I think the first day I was there, I took out like $50 worth of cash, which was like 150,000 pesos. I don't remember the exact exchange, but it was a fair amount of pesos. And that was a great way to go about in that country because there were lots of vendors selling things on the streets. There were lots of people that would prefer cash or that wouldn't take cards at all. So it was nice to have, $50 to $100 worth of cash to just kind of use as I was out and about. In Europe, you can carry maybe 20 euros. Same thing when you're in Asia, you can carry, $20 to $50 worth of cash on you. You don't need a ton of it. You don't want a ton of it. The hard thing about cash is that its value is in its existence. So once it's gone, you can't cancel it. You can't get it back. You can't prevent it from being used. So I try to carry not a lot of cash. Last episode, last Tuesday here on IBM TV, I talked to you a little bit about currency exchanges. And I want to get into that a little bit more because I had strong feelings about currency exchanges. I just have a lot of strong feelings about currency exchanges. I just don't want you to use them ever. It's the worst way to manage your money. It's the worst way to exchange currency. It's just bad all around. So here's why. Let's talk about why. So when you actually are ready to take that trip, and we're looking a few years ahead, hopefully when the pandemic starts to subside a little bit, but when you're ready or when you're out there, don't be tempted. You're going to go to the airport. There's going to be lots of these currency exchange desks set up trying to sway you to get your yen here, get your euros here. Don't do it. You're going to get a bad exchange rate. You're always going to get a bad exchange rate. You're going to get the worst exchange rate that they can drum up. Always. You're also always going to be charged something. Those currency exchange places are businesses. They're for-profit businesses. They need to make money. So they need to charge you to use their service. So you're going to be spending more money for the fee to change your currency and more money in the exchange rate. It's always a bad idea. Easy solution, easy fix, easy to do. Just go to an ATM. When you're in the airport, just go to any ATM. You're going to pay your $2 whatever ATM fee. Some cards will have reimbursable ATM fees now, and that's super nice. But you're going to get the day of exchange rate, which is going to be the best exchange rate there that is happening that day, and a lower fee. It's just go to the ATM. It's always better. I promise, it's always going to be better. Now, let me give you a little pro tip from someone who's traveled for a while. If you're going somewhere and you're not sure of the circumstances of that area, for example, if you're in maybe Brazil, if you're in somewhere even in Paris around the Eiffel Tower, anywhere where there might be some sketchy things going on, carry a little bit of mugging currency with you. I call it mug money. Mug money is probably the exact opposite of anything that anyone here at at IBM TV would stand for, but it's good to have because mugging money is the little bit of money you have in a third pocket. And when I say a third pocket, I mean, listen, if you're a guy anyway, you got 4 pockets in every pair of pants. You got 2 front pockets and 2 back pockets. That's 4 spots. So in one spot, usually I have like my phone, some spare camera batteries because I film everything I do for my YouTube channel. And if you're just joining the stream, you should check out my YouTube channel. You can visit my website and my YouTube channel to learn more about me, get some more travel tips and hacks, and see some fun adventures, maybe get some inspiration. But when I'm traveling, I usually have my phone and my camera battery in one pocket. I usually have a credit card in another pocket. Sometimes if I'm taking my debit card out on the town, just so it can get some fresh air, I'll put that in another pocket, but then I'll put a little bit of cash. Usually I put my phone and my camera battery in my front pocket and my mugging cash in my other front pocket, and my credit cards I'll put either in my back pocket or my backpack or somewhere else safe. That's great to have because then you're doing 2 things. It's your mugging money. So if you get mugged, you can just give them that 20 euros or whatever that's in that mugging money pocket, empty out that pocket for them, and they're like satisfied and they'll run away. And it gives you a 1 in 4 chance of preventing pickpockets, because if you're at somewhere like say the Leaning Tower of Pisa, if you're at the Eiffel Tower, if you're on the Thames at what's the London Eye, there's gonna be some pickpockets. So it gives you a little bit of security, have a little bit of flexibility if you do get pickpocketed. I'll do a whole episode on mugging later. I've been mugged most of the time when you're traveling and you get mugged. It's just teenagers messing around thinking they have an easy fix. So you got to be kind of careful, but most of the time you can just be like, no, I'm not giving you and make it clear, not an easy mark. There's a couple other things you can do while you're traveling to make sure you're not presenting as an easy mark, that you can do to kind of help make sure you don't get pickpocketed. And we'll get into all that in a future episode. Generally, if you're a city smart person, if you function well in New York, I lived in New York for a hot minute, you'll be able to avoid getting mugged, or you'll be able to have that kind of city sense, that spidey sense, if you will, of I probably shouldn't go down that dark alley, or I need to figure out a distant route, or not look like a tourist. You'll probably be okay, but it's good to have that just in case. So let's talk a little bit about Europe. It's my specialty market, if you will. and let me tell you about something I hate. I can't stand it. I mean, truly can't stand it. So there's a big difference between the ways Europeans and Americans use their cards. And in the United States, we stick our card in and we sign everything. We do signatures everywhere. It's not exactly the most secure way to go. It's squiggly lines. Anyone can forge a signature. It's very Declaration of Independence era hangover. But in Europe, they'll use chip and pin. So they stick their card in the machine, the chip reader, and they'll type in a 4-digit number. And that's their pen. So they don't use signatures. And that means when you use your American card in Europe, the machines are going to prompt you or the merchant for a signature. And most of them are going to be confused. They're going to have to go find a pen. They're not going to know what it means. It's just embarrassing. It's awkward. It takes time. It makes everyone around you go, oh, tourist. Immediately can make you a sign for pickpockets. Not good. Not good all around. Not good. So here's my next secret. If you have any phone, really any smartphone now, use Apple Pay or Google Pay. Apple Pay and Google Pay are magic because they allow you to tap your card on all these machines and not have to sign, not have to insert a PIN. It just bypasses all of it. It's magic. It makes it so much easier, so much better to do. And it's a little safer because then you're not actually having to pull out your card, show what pocket it's in. It's going to use a fake card number, like it generates, it doesn't share the transaction. It's very, very secure. So it's a super, 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 super good way to go. Because especially if you're in a place where it's a small merchant, a mom and pop shop, a small vendor, the whole signature thing is going to throw them off. The waiters have to run away and find a pen. They don't know what to do with the receipt once you sign it. It's just drama. It's just crazy. Sometimes if they do know, they'll demand to see the back of your card and try and make sure the signature matches. It's just nuts. Apple Pay, Google Pay, that's the way to go. Heck, even in London, you can use it at the turnstiles on the London Tube. It's just way easier to tap your phone on the machine, not to sign anything, not get anyone confused. It also means you don't have to worry about losing your cards because your phone is your card. And if they're all added in, if you do get pickpocketed and your credit card gets nabbed, you can still use it on your phone until you freeze it or cancel it or whatever you need to do. But it just makes things a lot easier to have kind of a backup of your money in a couple different places. It's just more convenient that way. So to kind of sum up the first half here of the show, 4 pockets. Keep your phone in one. You got your Apple Pay, your Google Pay, your little doohickeys to tap and pay, loaded up, ready to go with all your cards you're going to use. You have a good credit card that's got no international transaction fees. You can freeze your card. You're going to be able to use it and get some perks maybe while you're traveling. You have another pocket with a little bit of cash in it, just in case you need the cash, or if you do get pickpocketed or mugged, kind of helps. And maybe another card in another pocket somewhere. It depends on how worried you are and what area you're in. But good kind of basis here. Excuse me. Good kind of basis here, right? So there are a couple rules I break. And I'll tell you what rules I break and why, which seems to be a theme of Best of Travel here on IBM TV. There's always some rules I break and why. So a couple more rules I'll give you and a couple more things I hate when we come back after the break. In the meantime, I'll have a little ad that I'm going to play. But when you watch the ad, don't just watch it. Pop on over to my YouTube channel. Pop on over to my website, thebrandonscott.com, or to my YouTube channel. Subscribe. It's free to do. You get a lot more travel tips. You get a lot more travel hacks. You get some great experiences of travel. And I just launched a new merch line, which I advertised last week here on the show. So you can pick up a few of those items as well. Super excited about that. Now, so second half of the show, we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about some more money rules and how to manage your money while you're abroad. Travel. It doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be expensive. When you think of travel, it can be easy to get overwhelmed, from pricey airline flights, dates of your hotel, navigating in Ubers and taxis in foreign languages, and currency exchange. It can feel really complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let me help you break down travel into some easy, simple steps, so that way you can take the trip of a lifetime without breaking the bank or stressing yourself out. Travel is more complicated now than ever, so having a guide who's experienced to help you navigate the world of travel can be priceless. And it is priceless. It's free to watch here on IBM TV and free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I'll give you some great travel tips and advice. There's nothing quite like snapping that photo at sunset in Paris, trying great coffee in Colombia, or adventuring around Spain having a great sunny day. Even if you want to travel domestically, from budget travel guides in New Orleans, New York, Paris, and London, to luxury travel guides and everything in between, travel can be so much fun and so much more affordable than you think. I hope you're having a great time watching me here live on IBM TV. I have a ton of fun making Travel Tuesdays Travel with Brandon, and I hope you're having a lot of fun watching. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, swing by my YouTube channel. You can find my YouTube channel full of great travel tips, some travel hacks, some food recommendations, city guides, budget travel tips, and so much more. Subscribing on YouTube is free to do, and it helps support me and continue making great travel content for you to see. You can also visit me online at thebrandonscott.com, where you can get even more travel advice, some great links, and some in-depth breakdowns of trips I've taken and trips you can plan. It's a great way to find a little bit of inspiration for your next adventure and some travel tips. I've got cities both domestic and international that you can check out. Find the best places to eat, the best things to see, the best things to do, and how to do it all affordably. Whether you want to stay at Airbnbs or 5-star luxury hotels, there are great ways you can do all of those things on a budget. Swing by my YouTube channel, give that big red subscribe button some love, and don't forget to visit thebrandonscott.com for even more travel tips. From great photos in Paris, to awesome food in Spain, to wild adventures in Colombia. If you want to adventure and you want to see more, this is the place to do it. Now back to, I guess, live me on IBM TV. Enjoy Travel Tuesdays and Travel with Brandon. Whoa, welcome back. Wasn't that great? Welcome back to Best of Travel here on IBM TV. My name is Brandon. Thanks for joining. If you're just popping into the stream, come say hello. Come say, hi, how's it going? Whatever questions you have, drop them in those Facebook comments on the IBM TV Facebook page. They'll pop up live here on the screen, and we can answer your questions live on the air as we talk a little bit about travel and how to manage your money while you're traveling. My name is Brandon, and I make travel content. If you're just joining the stream, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel for tons of great travel tips and hacks and city guides. One of the things I've talked a little bit about here on IBM TV and some other shows is how we're going to see a rise of domestic travel. It's going to be huge. Domestic travel is going to be a big, big thing when we start to have some lockdowns lift in the next few years, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Hopefully. Oh, that's so depressing to say out loud. Hopefully, if everybody wears their mask and socially distances, maybe we can get a little faster. But domestic travel is going to be big. So I have a whole series, a whole playlist of domestic travel city guides. New Orleans on a budget. I talk about New York on a budget, how to spend 48 hours in a big city like New York or Portland and make the most of it, that you can check out on my YouTube channel. But today we're talking about international travel. We're dreaming of the days, oh, the days when there was international travel. Y'all remember those days? Feels like it was years ago. But but now that you're in quarantine, you have some time to plan your trip. Make sure you're managing your money well while you're abroad, while you're overseas, especially if you're going to be gone for a long period of time. I'm crazy. I'll leave for 6, 7, 8, 9 months, 10 months at a time. I'll leave for a long time. I've been on the road for the last 4 years. So knowing how to manage your money is important, and it takes some skills. And I'm going to give you all that knowledge for free, exclusively here on IBM TV. So make sure you like the Facebook page, the IBM TV Facebook page, and you join me every week here, Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to talk a little bit about a couple more travel money rules and some of my pet peeves and some rules I break, just to get a little bit more information out there about how to manage your money abroad. So in the first half of the show, we covered some kind of basic tips. First of all, one of my big pet peeves, never, ever, ever use a currency exchange business. Never do it. Get your cash at an ATM. Secondly, check if your card has any international transaction fees associated with it. Most credit cards don't, and that's going to become your primary mode of paying for things. If you can, if you got a good credit score, or if you're, maybe a little bit more advanced in the game of navigating perks, get a credit card that has some great travel perks. Some people are huge fans of like the co-branded cards that are, the American Airlines, American Express card, or the Delta Sky people thing card, whatever. All the different airlines have their own cards, or hotels have their own credit cards. Find one that works for you. Fine. I don't really have any strong feelings. If you're, a big fan of a specific airline or hotel, maybe it makes sense for you to have a certain point mechanism to get some points for that airline or hotel. If you just want some cash back, whatever, get a credit card that has some travel perks. If you can, find one that works for you. Do a little bit of research on that. Use Apple Pay or Google Pay when you're abroad. I promise it'll save you a ton of stress, especially in Europe. It'll save you so much hassle. Funny side note, I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I was stranded in France for a while. And by stranded, I mean I entered the country without a valid passport. I had to send my temporary passport off to get a visa, and I was stuck in the country by myself with nothing to do. So I got to explore the wonderful city of Dijon, France, which is great. If you've never been there, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. But while I was there, I would go do things. It's a smaller city in France, and the whole American card not in a pin. They get weird. Sometimes it gets fraud. They don't really need to make this signature, especially if they don't do a lot of business with Americans. So Apple Pay and Google Pay are a godsend because you can just tap your card and you're good to go. Makes it a lot easier. When I was there, I was staying at a hotel kind of on the outskirts of Dijon, and so I went to a mom and pop shop, a boulangerie nearby. Je suis désolé, je parle pas français, not at all, but a little boulangerie, and wanted to get a little like croissant, maybe a little pain au chocolat, a little latte. And I stuck my card in the machine. I don't know why I didn't use my Google Pay or my Apple Pay, but I stuck my card in the machine. It wanted a signature. The clerk got very confused. He thought I was fraudulent. I tried to explain. I don't really speak French, but I'm not fraudulent. I'm American. He was kind of like, okay. So he checked the signature on the back of my card. He's like, I don't know if this matches, if this is you. I was like, this is a lot. This is just a lot happening. I just wanted a coffee and a croissant in the morning. Use that Google Pay. Use that Apple Pay. The other tip we talked about in the first half of this episode was to carry small amounts of cash. It's great if you need a quick transaction, if you're with maybe a vendor on the street. When I was in Colombia, I used to love the empanadas that lots of vendors would sell from carts, just kind of strolling up and down the street. Actually, I just made a YouTube video where I attempted to recreate some of those empanadas, and it went terribly. You can hop on over to my YouTube channel if you want to see how that turned out. But they don't take credit cards. They don't take credit cards at all. They take cash, and nothing but cash. Nothing but cash. And that can make it kind of tough because, if you don't have cash, it's just a whole drama. And then you got to go to an ATM. You're taking another transaction fee. It's a whole thing. So just have a little bit of cash with you. I usually try to keep about $50 a day. One of the things I talked about in the first episode was my pet peeve was coins. I hate coins. I hate them. I'm team hashtag abolish the penny, but internationally I hate coins even because coins don't say on them what they're worth. They have tiny little print on the side that say it's 25 cents or it's 20 cents or it's whatever. And sometimes spelled out in words, which can be in a different language. It's just awful. So my kind of secret trick there was I would go, when I was in Europe especially, I would go to stores, kind of chain stores and H&M, whatever, big grocery store, and I would exchange my coins for cash so I could keep the bigger bills. A lot easier to do because then I could kind of glance and see how much was in my wallet or how much was in my pocket. Quickly. It's saved me from having to be at a checkout and having to try and sift through a big bag of coins, especially as Americans. We don't use coins very often. I mean, kind of, but in euros, there'll be two euro coins and 1 euro coins. You have a lot of coins sometimes to carry. It weighs you down. It jingles. They can get lost easily. So I would do that. I would take them to a little place and have them changed back into into bigger bills. But one thing I will say about coins, one of their perks, one thing I like about them is they make great gifts. And here's what I'm saying. So usually what I would do is I would take a couple of low value coins. I'd take a 1 cent euro or, a 10 cent peso or whatever. And I would just put in a little plastic bag while I was traveling. With 10 or 15 of those, they don't weigh much. They don't take up any space virtually in your luggage. But when you get home, when you get back to the States, they're great gifts to give out. Here you have a euro. I have a little, 20 cents of euro. And it costs you nothing. If you go to the gift shop, you're going to get a $20 t-shirt. Instead, give them a, 20-cent euro. It costs you 22 cents or whatever. It didn't cost you very much. And they have a nice little memory that you can really only get in that country. So it's a nice little trick there for coins. I do love to give out some old coins. It's nice. I also keep some for memories. But when I'm abroad, I like to change out my coins regularly so that I have some big old bills, a fiver or a $10 bill, just to make it a little easier on myself. At least on those, it's in big print, so you know what you're spending. Generally speaking, though, I use my credit card, I would say 99% of the time, maybe 100% of the time. I use it a lot. And it's great to have that Google Pay, Apple Pay. You can kind of tap, you get alerts on your phone, you can keep track of things pretty easily. It just makes it a lot easier to do. Now, here's some of the rules I break, and I'll tell you what rules I break and why. I do occasionally use my debit card when I'm abroad, and I'll just take the international transaction fee. I tend to use it for transactions at the ATM, because it's a great way to let my bank confirm and know, yes, I'm abroad. Just in case I need to use my card while I'm there, my bank won't flag it as fraud. I do set travel notifications. Some credit card companies, you don't have to set travel notifications. Anytime you have a debit card at a bank, you should always tell them you're traveling. Let them know ahead of time where you're going to be, and then they can kind of let you use your card while you're abroad. So generally, when I first get to the airport, I'll go to the ATM and I'll take out a small chunk of cash with my debit card. I'll take that $2 or $3 international transaction fee that I'm going to get, just to kind of let my bank know I've landed, I'm here, I might need to be using my card here, and it's a little easier than trying to manage the whole cash advance thing with the credit card for me. So I definitely use that a lot. It's one of those things where you got to be smart, you got to be careful, but it's good to kind of play the game a little bit, right? So I do carry cash with me. When I was in Europe, I oftentimes would only carry a couple of euros in cash because just about everywhere took cards, which are so much more secure than cash and so much better to carry around than cash. And if you get pickpocketed or scammed or whatever, you can cancel it. You can dispute transactions. It makes money a lot easier to manage. Now, the kind of last thing I want to kind of throw into this into this show is that there are times when you're traveling when you're going to need to think ahead of time, because resorts or big tour groups or anything that's kind of a big group-based travel, resort-based travel, anything that's super touristy, they'll often require you put a credit or debit card down, even just the numbers or sometimes a deposit to hold the room, to make a deposit on your hotel room, to make a deposit on your upcoming trip, something along those lines where they want you to give a credit card while you're reserving. Excuse me. And that is all well and good, but think ahead of time, because sometimes those places, when you're there, will say, oh, wait, you have to use the card you used when you reserved your hotel room, or when you booked your cruise, or when you booked this group outing. We need to verify it's you and your card, and they don't want to change cards. And then you can sometimes be stuck with that international transaction fee. Or with that, whatever, all these different kinds of fees that seem to pop up. So if you're planning a trip, it's easiest, I think, just to use your credit card. That's going to be your method of currency for your trip. Use your Capital One card, your Discover card, your Amex, your Visa, whatever. Make that the primary method and stick to it. So when it comes to perks a little bit, I'm gonna take about 10 minutes here and talk a little bit about perks. There are a few YouTube channels that I'll recommend. If you want, you can reach out to me on Twitter or on Instagram. or heck, leave a comment on the YouTube videos, one of my YouTube videos, and I'll tell you some secret YouTubers I watch about perks, because there's all sorts of gaming the system you can do if you really commit to it, where if you take so many flights and then you get points and then you get your rewards and you do this and that and this and that, and they'll take $2,000 flights for nothing on some of these channels. But the perk that I'm most interested in is I like cash back on my credit cards. And I'll tell you why. Because I travel a lot to a lot of different places. Or used to before the pandemic. Oh, so sad. Oh my gosh. Here we are, stuck at home. But at least you can watch the live stream, right? But I travel to a lot of different places. So I'm flying a lot of different airlines. I also travel for work. So sometimes I don't have control over which airline that is booked. It's not always going to be an airline that I have a rewards number with. It can get kind of crazy. So I'm a big fan of the cashback credit cards because I can use them anywhere for anything and still get my rewards. Just because I'm not using them on an American Airlines flight or on a Hilton hotel doesn't mean I don't get a little bit of a perk while I'm doing that. So a good kind of example of this is they were running a special. One of my credit cards was running, I have a couple. One of my credit cards was running a special where if you booked on Airbnb, you got a extra special cashback reward. It was like 5% cashback or something crazy, but you had to book it in 30 days. And so I was able to get a really nice Airbnb and essentially take 5% off of what I was paying for that Airbnb. So that was nice because it was cashback. It was usable anywhere, and I didn't have to use it on a specific service, or airline. So cashback is great in that sense. Some people really like their rewards cards. I think they're worth it if you're going to really use them and kind of game the system to get the rewards out of them. But I'm a big fan of the cashback credit cards. And the other reason is it's super easy to just kind of redeem your cashback to lower your account balance. So you're just kind of constantly spending less than you thought. I'll do that a lot when I'm out and about as well. An easy way to make me feel better about a expensive flight or something like that is to just slide the little cashback lever and get $50 deposited back into my credit card. So I'm a big fan of those. There are lots of great cards out there that have points and things. But one of the things I want to warn you about, if you're like me and you're young and you're about to go out and travel the world for the first time and you're hearing me talk and you think, Brandon, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I understand. I watch your show every week and I subscribe to your YouTube channel and I bought some of your merch. I'm going to go get a credit card. Be careful. Look at your financial situation, because the last thing you want to do is book yourself a $500 flight on a credit card and a hotel, and then you get there and all of a sudden your balance is full on your credit card. You've spent $2,000-$3,000 on your credit card and you can't use it while you're abroad and you don't have a great way to pay it. So you really got to be careful with credit cards. You really got to monitor, pay them off, use their perks. Don't carry a balance. You're going to end up spending tons and tons of money. It's not worth it. So if you're not in a good spot for credit cards, if you're not feeling like you're able to use them, I have another tip for you. And this is a tip I want to hit home a little bit, because here's the deal. Travel is not something for just wealthy people or just well-to-do people. Travel can be a lot more affordable than you think. I mean, really, it can be a lot more affordable than you think. So I'm going to hit home a little bit on this, because if you don't have a great credit score, if you don't have a lot of money, you're not able to manage your finances well, maybe you're not getting paid a lot, whatever it is, and you're not able to get that great credit card with, all those perks and whatevers and returnable fees and things, that's okay. We have another solution for you. I have two solutions for you, in fact. Are you ready for this? Great solutions, affordable solutions. First solution is most major retailers, Walmart's, Target's, Costco's, lots of places will sell these kind of prepaid credit cards. And if you can't get a credit card, you can get these little prepaid guys. And they're prepaid in the sense you go to the register, you pay a certain amount and a little fee, and they'll put that money onto that credit card. And then you don't have to worry about international transaction fees. Make sure you read the fine print of your card, but you don't have to worry about them. And the nice part is you can go onto an online portal, onto an app. So long as you have your phone or a Wi-Fi connection at a hotel, you can go on and reload your card. So you can kind of manage your money that way and not have to worry about international transaction fees and cash advances and all this nonsense. You can just use that card as you would a credit card. So that's a great hack if you're not at a place where you feel like you can afford to travel. I would say come back every Tuesday at 11, and I'm gonna convince you. I'm gonna convince you otherwise. I'm gonna convince you can live a great travel experience. You can have a great time, and you can get to a foreign country. You can get across the pond in either direction, even if you don't have a ton of money, even if you're not able to save up to, feel like you're able to save up to take that trip. I'm going to teach you how. So we're going to kind of get through that here this season. So come back every week. But those are a great tip. The other tip is if you're just kind of younger, like I said in the first of the episode, I did start a secured credit card when I was very young so that I could just kind of say, here's a chunk of money. I gave them like $250 and they gave me a credit card. I was able to build my credit score that way and use that while I was traveling to avoid some of those fees. And then when you cancel the card or close the card, you get that money back. So nice way to do it so long as you can manage your money, at home, and then you can manage your money really well abroad. So I just want to take a second to kind of recap a little bit of what we said. Basically, overall, here's the deal. When you're traveling overseas, use a card that has no international transaction fees. That simple. It can be a credit card. If you're lucky enough to have a bank that doesn't have international transaction fees, tell me the name of the bank. I want to know. But if you're lucky enough to have a bank that doesn't have international transaction fees, you can use that card. Any card that won't charge you to exchange currency is a good card to have. You can get a credit card. Use your credit card that has some travel perks. You can get a little bit of rewards that way. Don't use a currency exchanger. Don't do it. Go to an ATM. You can also go like old school, like 90s, and go to your bank and request a withdrawal in a different currency, and usually they'll FedEx it to the bank in a couple days. You can do that. You'll get a good exchange rate usually that way, but it's just, who does that anymore? It's 2020. So don't use the currency exchangers. Also, use your Apple Pay, use your Google Pay while you're abroad. And the other thing I always tell people is always carry a little bit of cash. You don't need to carry a lot, just a little bit. I remember one time, I'm going to tell a quick little tangent, quick little story before we end this live stream. I have to tell you an embarrassing story. So one time I was in Spain and I was making some rough choices probably. I was out at a club in Spain and I was ready to get home. And I was just trying to find a taxi that would take a credit card because I don't have any cash. And it took me ages. I went window to window in Spain. Excuse me, hello, do you take cards? No, only cash. Okay, excuse me. And it took forever. So it's always good to have a little bit of cash on you. Always good to have just a little chunk. Couple euros, 10 euros, 20 euros, don't have a lot, just a little bit to kind of, make sure you're prepared for any scenario. Not saying you should go out clubbing, not saying you should, have a few drinks and then try and catch a taxi, but it's good to have a little bit of cash with you while you're traveling. You might fall into a tourist trap. You might be out there at a nice vendor station and seeing a cool little trinket you want, and you're only going to be able to pay for it in cash. You might be in a country where cash is going to be king, and you can't get that empanada. You can't get, that delicious street food you want without a little bit of cash. It's just, nice to have that kind of backup method. Can't go wrong with cash. Don't carry a lot of it. Don't make yourself a target. Carry a little bit of cash at a time. Carry it in a separate pocket, and then if you do lose it, it's like, he lost $20 that day. Not as big of a deal. I want to take a second here at the end of the live stream just to thank you all for tuning in the last few weeks here on Tuesday for Travel Tuesdays. My name is Brandon, and I am hosting the show, The Best of Travel, every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So you can jump on in. We can chat a little bit about travel. We're going to teach you how to plan a trip, an executed trip without breaking the bank, and how to make some great memories along the way, because let's be honest, that's all it is, right? When we're here in quarantine, we're locked up. We're if we're responsible, we're still here in quarantine, in the States, locked up at home, not going out, not seeing people, not going to restaurants. The one thing we have is our memories. So I'm gonna help you make some more. When we can start to travel again safely. I do want to take a moment to get on my little soapbox here at the end of the show just to say, stay at home. Stay at home, stay socially distant, and wear your masks. Because I don't know about you, but I'm really looking forward to going out and to traveling again and to getting to put some of these tips into action and hearing some of your stories about how some of these tips go for you. I really want to know. I really want to see how they go. So stay at home. Wear your mask. Don't go out unless you have to. Be socially distant. Just be a responsible person right now, because we all want to go back out. We all want to go make some new memories. We all want to go have some new experiences. So my little soapbox here is yes, we can do this. We can talk. Let's talk about travel. Let's plan a great trip. Let's figure out how to get the best experience we can. But you know, you gotta be responsible in the meantime, so we can get back to that point. We can go back to traveling. The other thing I want to say right now, and I made a whole YouTube video about this on my channel, is right now is not the time to travel, especially internationally. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Even if the border restrictions are open in other countries, don't go, because that country desperately needs your tourist dollars. What they don't need is for you to show up and get sick and be a burden on the healthcare system and take healthcare away from their citizens. So stay at home now. Think about your next trip. Think about your next international trip. Look at some domestic travel tips. I've got a whole playlist on my YouTube channel of domestic travel. I spent a few years traveling around the United States, going to some of the best cities, biggest cities, smallest towns, having the most fun, seeing our huge country. And it's a big old country, and there's a lot to explore. So in the next few years, when travel starts to open up, domestic travel is going to be big. It's going to be number one. And the way you're going to know where to go and what to see is by subscribing to me on YouTube and tuning in every Tuesday here on IBM TV at 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a great way to kind of get that sense of exploration, a great way to kind of plan your trip and get excited and get ready to go. I just want to say thanks for having me, everybody. I'll throw it back to you, Mr. Bill. And let's get back into Celeb Tuesdays, I think is coming up, right?
Bill's on mute.
Good call, Mark. Brandon, I'll do it quickly. First, I just wanted to say you were fantastic and you're hilarious with all the nuggets of the stories. But Mark, listen, you travel a great deal. What'd you learn from Brandon today?
I learned quite a bit from Brandon. I was definitely checking the show out. I was thinking about the fact that I need some protect that money, and definitely something to go on. Actually, unfortunately, most of my travel has been in the domestic area. So I agree with Brandon that it's going to be something that I want to see more of, because I haven't had a chance to do enough international travel yet. So I need to do more of that. A lot of the travel has been up and down the East Coast, and I also need to get out west a little bit more. So I was glad to hear those tips that you gave, Brandon. Interesting to hear that you don't like coins. I was actually thinking as you were saying that I used to actually be way back in the day a coin collector. So I used to try to get like the different coins from different countries and from different years. So as you said that, I was going like, wait a minute, I was into that sometime back.
But you know the struggle. Where does it say on that coin how much it's worth? It's like tiny print at the bottom. So if it's a foreign coin, you're like, how much is it? You gotta look like that at the coin to figure it out.
Okay.
You're very right about that. It's not there in plain sight. You got to try to figure it out. And then, like you said, a lot of times folks might be trying to find a way to hustle you as well. So you got to like think that if you ask somebody, and if maybe the coin is worth $1, they might tell you that it's worth something different just so they can try to hustle you. So I was thinking about that as you were talking as well.
Well, you see, go ahead, Brandon. Yeah.
I was just gonna say it's for me. I'm all about being embarrassed. I'm holding up a whole checkout line over here, going, "Is that 20 cents? Is that?" Oh, and then you're speaking and you're like, "Oh, lo siento, no hablo, je suis désolé." But is that? Do I want that? Is that the one I want? It's so embarrassing.
You see, that's so effective. It may be embarrassing, but you see, that's one of the tips that we get from your show, that people should do it, because I'd rather be embarrassed than lose $100. Now, Brandon, you were fantastic. Mark, it's always a pleasure to see you. We are going to wrap this up. Remember, everybody, Travel Tuesdays with Brandon. And, of course, we have Mark. Mark, you want to tell us about your shows quickly? And then we will go to the outro. And over to Celebrity Tuesdays. But, Mark, tell us about your shows quickly, and then we will wrap it up.
No problem. I'll tell you about a couple of shows. One is the show that I did yesterday on the radio show with Mark Lee. That featured Brian Shulman. And Brian Shulman is a LinkedIn actually master. So he's actually a master of that particular platform. So he talked about that, and he's a social media guy. So he was over there talking about some of the things he does. He's all about voicing your vibes. And speaking of the show that we've got, Celebrity Tuesday with Henry Morales and everything, he actually also talks about his tribe. So I'm beginning to think those folks in California always have this tribe thing going on. I don't know what it is about California and tribes. And then tomorrow on the online dinner party, we will have a mystery guest. I think one of the mystery guests will be somebody from the criminal world in the United States. And then I'll have an international mystery guest as well. And then we got some amazing guests that I have lined up. We've got a Canadian musician. We've got a artist from here in the Carolinas. I've also got somebody that's going to talk about golf. So I don't know if you're a golfer, but I've got a gentleman that's going to come in and talk about golf. And then last but not least, just because, you know, these are things, and these are hard times that we're in. And I do have somebody that's written a book about coping with grief. So that's going to be the, like, kind of maybe the downer side of everything that's going on. But we will have some very great conversation, and I'm looking forward to that tomorrow.
Well, that sounds fantastic. And so, Brandon, Mark, thank you very much. I do want to let all of our viewers know that here at IBM TV, we bring you everything from travel to soul-searching music, interesting conversations, and we are also sponsoring this year on September 21st, International Peace Day. And IBM TV is the exclusive viewer, and you could come to IBM TV and watch it. It'll be amazing with people from around the world. And right now we will roll what we have for International Peace Day. But again, thank you, everybody. Brandon, see you next Tuesday. Mark, I will see you around the block because, you know, we're all IBM, big family here. All together. Okay.
Family here, you will definitely see each other. Look forward to you rolling that information. And Peace Day is very important. By the way, I did have Brian mention Peace Day as we wrapped up the show. So he gave a shout out to Peace Day as well. And I need to take that snippet and add it to the rest of our stuff because he's all about peace as well.
Okay, fantastic. Now, if my friends will roll the clip, and thank you.
What? You talking to me? You talking to me about peace? What are you? Peace Day? International Peace Day? September 21st, 2020? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that. Oh, yeah, I heard about that. So, peace, what does it mean to me? We have to define our terms. Peace means calming down, being calm. Peace means reaching out to others. And you know, hippie is a 4-letter word for some of you, but I think they had it exactly right. Smile on your brother. Everybody get together. You got to love one another. So Peace Day to me means everybody loving one another. We're all one global family, and everybody is in this together. Because when you're part of a community and the whole world is a community, you're never alone. So don't be alone. Don't be apart from others. Hug people, smile at people, look them in the eye. Keep your head up and look people in the eye because everybody is worth it. Show compassion to other people. Be at peace yourself first, and then embrace others with peace. Thank you very much, IBM TV.
International Broadcast Media TV, IBM TV, Smart Television, is a multilingual, multi-demographic network focused on inspiring and educating the global community. We provide unique quality shows in areas not covered by traditional media and bring unique programs around the world to the world. IBM TV is a media network which does not provide any technology services or products such as hardware, software, or cloud computing.